Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing, Suzannah?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Great. Very nice to connect with you today.
Takes
We'll just give it a minute or so for our other guests to join in, but feel nice to meet you.
some eat.
Great. Which part of the US are you based in?
Right now, West Virginia.
West
Yeah,
Virginia? Okay, okay.
we've
All right. Yeah, please go ahead.
we move constantly. So right now we are located in West Virginia at the moment.
Okay, okay. Great. And I'm guessing it must be getting a little bit on the colder side now, the
Yes,
weather.
for the last 2 days, it's been almost snowing because it's how cold it is.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
we had a lot
okay.
of frost on cars and everywhere.
Yeah, that's the worst. I mean, I stayed there. I stayed in Maryland for about 5 years, and the
Really,
winters were tough. Yeah, winter used to get tough. I used to hate shoveling the driveway. I mean, it was just I never liked it.
I didn't like that either. But normally we rent houses or apartments, and normally like they do that for us. And now since April we have our own home,
Uh,
and now we have a really big driveway. Not looking forward to that at all.
Great, great. So who all are there in your family?
My husband and I have two daughters. One's 8, one's 2. The second one, she's watching Nemo right now, so you can probably like hear the background.
That's fine. I think Nemo is a nice movie.
Yes, it's her favorite show right now. She's completely obsessed with it.
Is it? And do you have to watch it over and over again in a loop?
Yes, I have to watch it at least 2 to 3 times a day. So I can do other different things around the house while she is watching it. So
Excellent. No, I mean, I can imagine. And your older one goes to school, I guess. So
she's in third, so she's in school right now. So I don't have her
um,
to come in here and trying to be on here every 5 seconds.
okay, that's fine. I mean, we don't mind. I mean, if they're around here, I mean, we'd love to say hi to them too. No problems.
Yeah, they can be very loud and ask completely tons of thousands of different questions. I'm like, okay, stop.
Sure. You mentioned that you keep on moving around a lot. So which city were you in before this?
Um, we lived in Christiansburg and Virginia, but
Okay.
my family was from um, my dad was uh, in the military, so I was born in Florida, but then we moved to Virginia, then we moved to Louisiana, then back to Virginia, then with then we moved. This is our ninth time moving,
Oh
and
my God.
he works at 84 Lumber, and so he's right now he's a manager, and um, so they get him moved everywhere, and
So does that help in the writing process, getting to know different countries or the different cities and different locations?
it does because like you get to meet new people and different locations and different people, and I like to write and read about history, so
Mhm.
having that aspect coming into my writing, I've been having like different ideas of uh, different locations I can use in different aspects, and like different like um like my house is over 200 years old, right?
Wow,
But like
amazing.
first month we moved here, we had a friend of ours come down in the basement, and he's like, well, there's a place where they like bootleggers with alcohol in the 1930s used to have right there. So, and like this house has so much history in it, and I'm like, okay, that's like really good ideas. And um because I love the 1920s and the 1930s, and I really want to write a book about it and stuff. And it's just like I can, like my mind is like keep on going and racing, and I need to write it down before I forget.
Very nice. So it seems like you've had a eventful life. Tell us a little bit about your your childhood and years growing up and how that was like, and when did you find books in your life?
Um, I've always loved writing and reading, but I didn't really get to really into reading until middle school. That
Okay.
not middle school, it was like primary, elementary, but it was like this one teacher, the way she read the book, like read different like books, she would have like different voices she would do it, and
Ah,
it was really really cool. But then as I grew up, I started writing like fan fiction, and then in like high school I started writing on like Wattpad and
mhm.
ones like that, and but it you can see like the progress in my writing because it was at first really really bad, but then um it's been at like a learning curve of different like how to write, how to plan a book from start to finish, and but yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, when you were in school and you thought about, hey, let me pick up a book to read. Which kinds of books attracted you like naturally?
um Mostly if it was anything with like romance or historical fiction, and that's what normally I write um is like romance and historical fiction, and I think that has a lot to do with like how I write and going um I, I can see at the comments, um like my favorite one of my favorite authors, her name is Nora Roberts, and one of my favorite books of hers is called Midnight Bayou, and it has
Okay.
um like it has a mix of historical romance and like romance and um like mystery, and that has like really really captivated my attention in
Mhm.
of writing.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when we talk about romance and historical fiction, do you like an overlap in these genres? Because in fact, I was looking at the description of your book, Turned into Gold, and it looks like there is a little bit of romance going on in there, and then there is some suspense, like there is a murder and you're trying to solve the murder, and also I think it is set in the past sometime. So it looks like it's a very interesting amalgamation of all these things that you really love.
Yeah, it's like a collage of all my favorite like books and movies, and I don't know if you have seen like or read Frankenstein, and it
Yeah.
has the fact of it because whenever I got the idea, it was originally for a contest, and
Mhm.
my husband read it and he was like, "Oh, you should turn it into a book," and that was like the first thing that was like, okay, it's a a science fiction story you have to write, and that was my first like thought of Frankenstein. You have like
Mhm.
go along with that, and I just kind of went down that road with it, and it it has a mystery and dark romance because there's a lot that's on the darker aspect of romance because it's not like light and fluffy. It's more of like the darker aspects of love and relationships that not quite that would you would say that's like light and fluffy because
So tell us a little bit about the subject of the book. Like I think we are all very excited to know what the book is about. So in your words, maybe you can just tell us maybe like a high level overview of the book.
the main character, Theodore Black, he's obsessed with this woman and she has no idea. It's complete stalker romance at the beginning, and but she is killed, and raped, and but I don't go in detail about that part. But he tries to bring her back to life,
Ah,
and but there's a triangle love interest that his maid is completely in love with him, and he's like, okay, I think she's finally gone. Um, so, oh, that's my chance to get with him. But then like the main character, she's brought back to life. I don't want to give too much away. And then they, with the help of his maid and a friend of theirs, they all try to find the murderer. And so,
interesting. It's very, very interesting. So, was your husband the first person who read the book or the manuscript?
he was one of the first people that read it, but then I have two best friends that they do like the grammar and the editing for me, and them to like, okay, I have this idea. It might sound crazy, and oh my goodness, really, really good, or like, that's really interesting, and that really, really helps because I can figure out where I'm going, and or okay, I might need to change this or tweak this here and there, but yeah.
Very nice. So I also wanted to ask you something about from the time you realized that, okay, hey, I should convert this into a book to the time you actually went ahead and published. And I see that this is a self-published book, if I'm not mistaken, right? So tell me about that journey, a little bit about like from the time you thought that I should make this a book to the act of actually getting it up on Amazon, and what was the journey like for you?
Well, I've been writing on Wattpad for years, and I had a lot of people really, really like all my books on there. So just to have that encouragement, and even my husband having his support of saying, okay, you should really support, like you should really put this into a book and publish it by yourself. And that was like the encouragement that I really, really need. And I think all authors need a little bit of encouragement to go after their dreams. And so that helped with having like the kick in my butt to get started with it. Because it took me it took about 13 months to really write it all down, but then a lot longer to edit it because my aunt edited it for me, and so we just went back and forth. I think it was about a year to even editing it because we had to go back and forth, and that was not an easy process to go back and forth with it. And I'd had like different friends to look over it because I know here in the States, like you have to go to like the Congress and get that part squared away, right? And that process. It like is because I was reading onto it. It's like if you mess up, then it's a whole other issue, and I was like, oh my goodness. That was the process. It took me like 4 hours to get it all squared away because I was looking at YouTube tutorials and trying to do it, and I was like, okay, I have to not mess up, and I was really, really afraid of not messing up. So it took me a little bit longer.
Sure.
I think this time I'm going to have someone to format it right because that part took a lot longer to format their specific qualifications and to get it the right size, because I had the first time I did it was completely a mess, so I had to call them and be like, I messed up, please help. And they were completely understandable. They was like, okay, it happens all the time, we're just follow my instructions, and I did, and we corrected the original format for the paperback.
Sure.
So, I think.
So I have two questions, follow-up questions. So one is related to what you mentioned during the editing process, right? So you said that it was a very tough year for you. So what was the most difficult thing? Was it the language or the expression, or was it the plot or the story itself? I mean, were there editing feedback on that?
It's more of like when I'm writing, I will be writing it so fast and so many ideas at once that I'm like, let me finish this sentence. Let me go back and write this this idea, or I have to put in this detail, or let me go back and go do this detail. Like having squirrel moments, like back and forth. And sometimes I don't recognize it or I don't see it. So I have to have someone else to be like, where were you going in this sentence? Point. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I did it again. And another squirrel moment. And what it was definitely a learning experience, but it was really funny that it was like, there's so many of where are you going in this or this chapter, and I'm like, I have to go back, I promise, and go because I do it in like bulletin points if I'm writing a chapter. Like, okay, I have to get this detail or this remind myself I have to put in this or that. It I don't know. That's how I do it.
No, and you mentioned that your aunt did the editing for you. So did having someone you know help or hurt the editing process?
She was really helpful. She in California, she used to be a college professor in English. So
Okay.
she knew exactly what to do to help different people. She hasn't published herself, but she has helped other people publish and professionally publish and get and she used to work for the newspaper for a while, and but even she was like, oh, how did you come up with this idea, like, and put everything together? And I was like, yep, it started with this idea, then it became this. And she's like, oh wow. Yep.
Awesome. So, Suzannah, how was the first feedback, or I mean, what was the experience like when you started receiving the Amazon review comments, and when people started reading your book, maybe you started meeting people you've read who have read your book. So, how was that experience been like?
It's like a rush of feelings whenever I see someone has made a review or even a rating. It's like a rush that I get, that I'm so excited to read it, and I'm so happy that someone has read it or commented or read it, and it makes me want to go further into my writing and write more. And I'm finally now getting where I can write the second book to it, to the well, it's the continuation, but it's like the maid and the friend gets their own book in this one, so it's a part of the storyline, but like it's like a branch. That's a way to describe it.
Who's your favorite character in the book, by the way?
My favorite character is like the main character's Theodore Black, because he would absolutely do anything for the woman he loves, and like absolutely love that, with like to find someone like that. And like my husband is like that. He would do absolutely anything for love, and he's very a morally gray character, because he's not. It's very questionable what he does. But in a way, it's like, okay, I kind of see your point of why you're thinking this or doing this, but you can't help but to love his character.
Absolutely. And will he be there in the second book as well?
Only for like the beginning and like snick bits in the beginning, because they go back into like the maybe third or fourth book.
Okay.
It's like,
so is this evolving into a series overall?
I'm sorry?
Is this evolving into a series overall?
I don't know if it would be considered a series or a continuation thing. I don't know. I would have to look into it, because it's.
And how far along are you in writing the second book?
So I wrote the prologue, and the first chapter, and it's like almost into the second chapter.
Okay.
So
Okay.
basically, beginning.
Great. All the best. All the best. I wish you great success in writing the second book as well. What's the best feedback or the audience response or reader response that you've gotten so far till date? Like anything that stands out?
I think recently, there was one that said it was like the beginning of the book was Frankenstein-ish, and that author, it was very close to her writing, and I was like, oh my god, that's ferment me, and to compare my writing to another author like that was the best compliment ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in your interactions with other authors, like for example, you just mentioned someone compared your writing style. Do you think that your writing process or creative process is similar to maybe someone else's that you've met or come across, or do you think that everyone's is a very different, distinct process?
The way I write is completely different, but I think, and I'm trying to look at other people write, but because most people are either a plotter or a planner, and I'm like, okay, I'm somewhere in the middle where I put on like bulletin points, then I write it. So I think I will still always write romance, but then a mix of something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe fantasy, I've been
Okay.
kind of experimenting with it and having different ideas for it. And I have been reading a lot more indie authors and finding different recommendations on Instagram and Goodreads and different Facebook groups that read this or read that, and different authors and different genres. So
you mentioned that the lead character, the one that your favorite character, Theodore, is similar to your husband. So I'm sure there is an inspiration that has come somewhere from your real life into that character. But then on the other hand, we're talking about characters which are definitely not they're probably in the gray or maybe in the dark, and there's a host of characters, the supporting cast in in some sense. So how do you draw inspiration for characterization in specific, especially when maybe you don't know a person like that in real life? Or so how do you do the character plotting and sketching?
with I watch a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows. That's what mine and my mom's favorite thing to do when she was alive. To watch older movies and watch different movies and shows, and I try to kind of base different characters on my favorite ones, and even if it's like a character description of them or a personality trait or an interest they like, something that I can kind of connect with, because
Sure.
as a reader and a writer, you want to have that connection with these different characters, and that's what I try to incorporate in my writing, where I want someone to like, oh, that is my favorite interest too, or I really like this personality trait, or this specific hair color, or this different background of this different character.
Sure. And a lot of authors also I've heard and I've interacted with a lot of them. So they mentioned that a lot of the personality traits of you as an individual, as an author, you tend to impart to certain characters, and you draw from your own history and your own life. So does that happen with you also? Like, do you share maybe through other characters things and feelings and emotions from your own life?
Like my main character, Theodore Black, he gets like really upset with like the person he loves, and I think that came kind of close to heart, because when I'm in love with someone like my husband, that like I'm go 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 go, like I get really obsessed with him, and like I would do anything for him. And with
tell us also a little bit about the subjects that you're probably exploring. Like, for example, you mentioned in the second book you are looking at two of the characters from your first book to have like a sort of a spin-off happening. Are you introducing? Obviously, I'm sure that you'll be introducing a new set of characters again in this book,
yeah,
right?
I
So, yeah, go ahead.
sorry. I have like different Easter eggs that if you would read it really closely, maybe you could like pick it up. But there's different Easter eggs that like different characters that you would read in the first book that you would see them again in the second book. So put it like that, because if I wasn't going to write the second book, you would still have those like little characters, but it was just like an Easter egg. But when you read the book, you're like, oh, I remember that one.
Very interesting.
So, I don't. And the two main characters in the next book is the maid, Jessica. But then their friend Finn, you get to see his background and the secrets that he completely kept from everyone in the first book, and there's a lot to it.
Do you have like any advice or any tips or words of wisdom to impart to the people here?
If writing is what you really, really love and really that's what you really want to do, go for it. Even if you think it's kind of like out of the box, go for it. I mean, my characters, especially the main character, he was really out of the box crazy. And I think if someone at the beginning when I was writing would have really supported me whenever I was even writing just fan fiction, of saying, okay, you should really go for it. Go for your dreams. Go be an author. I think that would have got me started a lot sooner with self-publishing and trying to get it published before.
Sure. So. Do you think that has made you stronger? I mean, the fact that you had to sort of do this probably without that push coming in at an earlier time. Like, did that journey help get you more ready for being more successful now, or do you think getting started early would have been the better choice?
I think I would have already had more books out. That's probably even like on Wattpad. I think I'm eventually, not anytime soon, but eventually going to rewrite them and self-publish them, but maybe like under a different name or something. I think I would have definitely had a lot more books under my belt if I did get started a lot earlier and sooner.
Yeah. So does the act of writing, I know that there are days when I'm not very clear with my thoughts. Sometimes just putting something in writing makes it very clear for me. So when you're writing, what's the emotion that you feel? I mean, how do you feel when you're in the middle of it?
Very excited and like, okay, I have to get this down. Like, I have random everywhere. I have different notebooks for every room in my house. I have for 14 rooms in my house. So there's a notebook or multiple notebooks in every room. And I have like weird different hallways. So every room or different hallways have like different notebooks. I have one even in the shower. And that was a present for my husband. He was like, you have the most random ideas in the shower. Let me give you this book because so you can just like write it even if you get an idea in the shower.
Is self-publishing a tough job, and can you probably give some advice about how to make it simpler, if you have any quick thoughts on that?
It is definitely a lot harder than I thought it would be. I knew it was going to be hard, but it is definitely tough, and it's definitely a learning curve. And what I wish I knew before is to have a more of a fan base on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and try to build that up, build up this suspense of your book, writing, even if you're poetry or different things like that, and just like build up the memento, whatever, and build up that fan base, build up encouragement, and but I think with I've been writing it down from like everything I've been learning. Because I've been asked a couple times of like, what different things have you learned? And I'm like, okay, I've learned a lot of different things. Let me go write it down.
It has been like a delight speaking with you. It feels like I'm talking to an old friend. Really looking forward to reading your book. I haven't read it yet, but I do want to. So thanks for taking all the time today and speaking with us.
Thank you for speaking with me and letting me talk about my book. And I know I've been a little bit nervous because it's the first time doing it, so I hope you didn't mind.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's why I felt it was very informal and very nice. I really enjoyed the session, and I hope we'll stay in touch and talk a lot more about your books and mine. Right. Take care, Suzannah. Have a great day ahead, and thank you for coming here. And nice to know you.
Okay, nice to know you too. Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.